6 months ago, I thought biofield scanners were science fiction. I was wrong. Dead wrong. And what I discovered changed everything I thought I knew about the invisible energy that surrounds us every single day. My name is Justo, and I'm about to take you on a journey that will challenge everything you think you know about the world around you. It started with a simple question that kept me awake at night. If our bodies generate electromagnetic fields, and scientists can measure them with expensive equipment in hospitals, why can't we build our own detectors at home? The answer shocked me, and by the end of this 4-part series, you'll not only understand the science behind biofield detection, but you'll have built your own functioning biofield scanner using components that cost less than $50. But first, let me tell you about the moment that changed my entire perspective on energy and electronics. I was sitting in my doctor's office, watching the EKG machine trace the electrical activity of my heart across the screen when it hit me. If this machine can detect the electromagnetic signals from my heart through my skin, there has to be other electromagnetic activity happening that we're not measuring. That's when I started asking the uncomfortable questions that led me down this incredible rabbit hole. The term biofield was actually formally defined by the National Institutes of Health back in 1992. They described it as a massless field, not necessarily electromagnetic, that surrounds and permeates living bodies and affects the body. Now, before you dismiss this as pseudoscience, consider this. We already know that living organisms generate measurable electromagnetic fields. Your heart creates magnetic fields detectable by magnetocardiography. Your brain generates fields measurable by magnetoencephalography. These aren't theories, these are established scientific facts. What fascinated me was discovering that organizations like the Biofield Research Fellowship Program are actively supporting scientific investigations into biofield science, providing grants to researchers across disciplines like neuroscience, medicine, physics, and engineering. The National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, a U.S. government agency, conducts research on these phenomena. This isn't fringe science anymore. It's legitimate research happening at the highest levels. But here's where it gets really interesting. While the scientific community debates the broader implications of biofield theory, the underlying technology for detection is surprisingly accessible. We can absolutely build devices that detect electromagnetic fields and changes in skin conductance, which are two of the primary parameters that researchers study when investigating biofield phenomena. I started with zero electronics experience. Literally zero. I couldn't tell you the difference between a resistor and a capacitor 6 months ago. But I was determined to understand this technology for myself, instead of just reading about it or buying expensive commercial devices that cost thousands of dollars. The breakthrough came when I realized that biofield detection, at its core, is really about measuring two main things: electromagnetic fields and galvanic skin response. The electromagnetic fields are what we're detecting in the space around us, and galvanic skin response measures how our skin's electrical conductance changes based on our physiological and emotional states. For electromagnetic field detection, we can build a simple circuit using something called a CD4017 decade counter. This might sound complicated, but it's actually a basic integrated circuit that responds to changes in electric fields when connected to a simple antenna. When electromagnetic fields fluctuate around the antenna, it triggers the circuit, and we can see this activity through blinking LEDs. The faster the LEDs blink, the stronger or more active the electromagnetic environment. For galvanic skin response, we're measuring how the electrical conductance of skin changes. This happens because skin conductance is primarily influenced by sweat gland activity, which is controlled by your sympathetic nervous system. When you experience emotional arousal, stress, surprise, or even engage in mental tasks, your nervous system can increase sweat gland activity. Even tiny, imperceptible increases in moisture change the skin's electrical properties, and we can detect this with a simple circuit using an operational amplifier. Now, I want to be completely transparent about something crucial. These devices we're going to build are educational tools for exploring basic electronics principles and observing measurable physical phenomena. They're not medical devices, they're not diagnostic tools, and they're not intended to replace any professional medical equipment. What they are is a fascinating window into the invisible electromagnetic world that surrounds us constantly. The safety considerations are minimal because we're working with low voltage battery power, typically 9 volts, which significantly reduces any electrical hazards. The most important safety consideration is understanding that when we experiment with human subjects, even informally, we need to maintain ethical standards like informed consent and respect for privacy. What amazed me most as I dove deeper into this research was discovering how much electromagnetic activity is constantly around us that we never notice. Our homes are filled with electromagnetic fields from power lines, electrical wiring, electronic appliances, Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, and countless other sources. We're swimming in an invisible sea of electromagnetic energy, and most of us are completely oblivious to it. Building these detectors opened my eyes to this hidden layer of reality. I started noticing patterns I'd never seen before. Different electronic devices create different electromagnetic signatures. Living organisms seem to interact with electromagnetic fields in ways that inanimate objects don't. Even my own emotional and mental states appeared to correlate with changes in skin conductance that I could measure and observe. But here's what really blew my mind, and this is just the beginning of what we're going to explore together. When I started taking readings around different people, I discovered that not everyone generates the same electromagnetic signatures. Some people seem to create much more detectable electromagnetic activity than others. Some people's skin conductance was incredibly responsive to emotional stimuli, while others showed almost no variation at all. This led me to question whether there might be individual differences in what some researchers call biofield strength or biofield activity. Could it be that some people naturally generate stronger or more detectable electromagnetic fields than others? Could this explain why some people seem more sensitive to electromagnetic environments, or why certain individuals report being more affected by electronic devices? The implications started keeping me awake at night again, but this time with excitement rather than confusion. If we can detect and measure these phenomena with simple, homemade devices, what else might we discover? What patterns might emerge if we start systematically measuring electromagnetic activity and skin conductance under different conditions with different people in different environments? In part 2 of this series, I'm going to walk you through building your first electromagnetic field detector, step by step. You'll see exactly how I made my first breakthrough measurement and why the results completely changed my understanding of the invisible world around us. I'll show you the exact components you need, where to get them for the lowest cost, and how to assemble everything even if you've never touched an electronic component in your life. But more importantly, I'm going to share the shocking discovery I made when I first tested my completed EMF detector on myself versus testing it on my skeptical roommate. The difference in readings was so dramatic that it forced me to question everything I thought I knew about individual electromagnetic signatures. The journey from curious skeptic to confident builder is about to begin, and I promise you, by the end of part 2, you'll never look at the space around your body the same way again.